Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Convo presented by Leadership Indianapolis. I am Ebony Chappelle, and I manage programs and communication for Leadership Indianapolis. And today I'm talking with Kristin Kohn of Silver in the City. Hi, Kristin, how are you?
I'm well, Ebony. How are you this morning?
I am doing wonderful, wonderful. Happy to be talking with you. So, for folks that haven't been on Mass Ave or been to visit your store, tell us a little bit about Silver in the City and how you got started.
Sure. I started Silver in the City here on Mass Ave in the summer of 2000. I had worked part-time retail, like small business, Main Street retail through college. And, after kind of graduating and spending 5 years in the workforce, like the more professional workforce, it just didn't feel me. I've always liked sort of some creative problem solving, and I missed sort of that street level interaction with people and being a part of a community. And so I reconnected with the small business I'd worked for, and, they sort of gave me like a list of 10 things to do, including like set up a bank account, get a federal employment identification number, things like that. And I was like, tick, tick, tick. I utilized the Indiana Small Business Development Center to write my business plan. Every process, every part of that process was so valuable to me. And it really helped me feel and find like my own self-worth and really like find value in myself and what I had to offer. So it was a very transformative and quick process. I started in, November, and I opened in July. And then since then, you think that this journey is going to be about starting a business, but it's really been about 20 years of growing a business and being a boss, which is, something that we're not always all prepared for. So it's definitely been a developmental process the entire time. But Silver in the City is, we're just a fun store. It started as a silver jewelry store. We added gifts and home decor and grew like after our first year, just because there was such a demand for it downtown and on Mass Ave. 5, 6 years ago, we expanded and opened a store on Main Street in Carmel, as they're working on sort of creating more of like a livable downtown experience up there, similar to what we have down here. So we're excited to be a part of the community up there. But really, I've always lived within about 1.5 miles of where I am on the store. When I first moved to Indianapolis, I lived like literally catty corner from the store, and had a view of Mass Ave. So I've always felt connected to the downtown community and the Mass Ave community. And I really enjoyed being like a part of our business community and meeting the other like entrepreneurs and innovators that are, again, like working at that street level of Indianapolis.
Yeah, sounds like an incredible journey so far. And I just love to hear the passion in your voice for, everything that's transpired thus far. One of the things that I really want to talk to you about happened over the course of last summer. So just about a year ago, we saw our city transform in a way that many of us had never seen up close and personal. And it really mirrored what was happening nationally, and that was the uprisings following the deaths of Breonna Taylor, George Floyd. Here in Indianapolis, we had Drayshawn Reed and Mikhail Rose, and another young lady that were killed at the hands of police. So there was so much going on, so much conversation taking place, so many people wanting to jump in and do their part in downtown. I remember walking down the street and seeing people standing outside of your store, being a part of the protest. And I saw how the signage had changed outside and different things like that. So tell us what that experience was like for you and what you learned as a business owner and a leader through that experience.
Yeah, I mean, it was so powerful and came at a time when we already felt so vulnerable. Just coming off of a 10-week closure, reopening during COVID, trying to keep everybody safe. But I think that almost primed us to be more ready to feel the pain of all those deaths that seemed to happen in such a short moment, and culminating with George Floyd's death, which was just horrific. And, so many times in the past, that feeling of like helpless, like, this is horrible, thoughts and prayers, I hope this changes, and just being done with sort of that inactivity of that sentiment. So definitely, I mean, protests were happening all around us. And the biggest day and first night of protests, definitely, following that, there were what I felt, just a separate group of people um, that, participated in just a little bit more chaos of the evening. The next morning, like the news stories about that focused so much on like just property damage and sort of like the rioting that took place after the protests. And so knowing that, again, we were very vulnerable just in so many ways because of the closure, and, realizing that the need was, we probably should put boards up to protect our storefront, because, it would just be something else, like, on an already big hurt, but also like not feeling comfortable with that sentiment of property protection when there's a much bigger story of the protection of Black lives and, like, at the hands of law enforcement. And so, again, feeling put out by the local media coverage, focusing on rioting, we decided we'd use the boards to make sure that that focus turned back to Black Lives Matters, back to the Black people who've lost their lives at the hands of law enforcement, and also just blatant acts of racism. Thinking of like Ahmaud Arbery, the jogger who was gunned down by white supremacists, basically, and just wanting to make sure that the story stayed on that. Not really granting media interviews about it, just letting them tell the story, let the board speak for themselves. Like that is where that focus needed to be, like not on us as a business, but like on like, here's what this story is right now. Can we please keep the focus on, this pain and these outrageous acts, and like, what the next steps are to help. And then beyond just putting names on a boards and putting them up, we started a research project, and we researched every name that we put up. And we created a database, it's part of our blog, that people can go and click on every name and read that story. And I think going through the process of that research was definitely transformative for everyone who participated. And this whole thing has been like a team effort from our staff and their loved ones. So I think definitely so many stories, too many names, not every name, unfortunately, like it's never a complete list, and that's tragic. But I think definitely it helped our understanding. And then that helped us to be able to engage in conversation. Just like you were saying, Ebony, that you came downtown and you saw murals and you saw our boards. But I mean, being out on the streets during like the protests that continued on for weeks, just really helped us to engage with protesters, engage with visitors, engage with people who they felt drawn to come downtown to be a part, to support, just to be a presence. And so we were able to have some really great conversations with people. And then I think grow those conversations sort of, beyond those borders, like into the communities we go home to at night, to the families that we have. And I just think that being informed definitely helps us to want to like share what we've learned and share that information and speak up. I mean, this is a lot of what this is about. And we had some previous experience in speaking up for reproductive freedom, which is something that I'd always believed passionately about. And it's, people can feel it's a risk to speak up, but I think definitely us as white people, like it's really important to do it, and for our families and our neighbors and our friends to see us and feel emboldened to then to also speak up. And I think especially if you feel that there's an opposition with a louder voice, it doesn't mean that it's more, it just means it's a louder voice. So I think just helping to empower people to really show up and speak up and feel emboldened to do so.
Something else that I'm really excited about that you shared with me recently is your grant making initiative that kind of branched out from this as well. So tell us about that.
Sure. So I knew that with sort of our 20th anniversary, which happened last summer, that I wanted to officially create like a philanthropic arm of Silver in the City, just more of an official one with more of a purpose and a goal. So we created the Silver in the City Silver Linings Fund, which is a fund of Central Indiana Community Foundation, which is a really great way to be able to have a charitable fund without having to create a not-for-profit and a board. And so I was very happy to have that available to us. Because we were creating that and launching that in the moment, in what we were feeling and what we feel is probably the most important thing that we can do philanthropically, we dedicated the fund to organizations working to address racial disparity in Central Indiana communities. And so that's looking at housing security and food security, healthcare, education, employment. And we weren't in a position to pledge a percentage of sales, again, just coming off of our closure and just trying to keep going. So we collected checkout donations, we created stickers and sold them and donated all the profits. And so immediately, we raised funds and gave them to the Movement for Black Lives. Then we went on to provide a COVID grant to a Black-owned small business in Indiana. And then by the end of the year, the rest of the funds that we had collected, we contributed to the African American Legacy Fund with Central Indiana Community Foundation. But starting January 1st, we began automatically putting 1% of all of our sales from both stores and online towards the fund, and working towards the goal of creating micro grants for organizations, small organizations that might otherwise get overlooked. Again, that are like really, the organizations are in the community. The leadership of the organization is in the community. It is connecting with the community and really seeing what the needs are and seeing what some of the most effective ways to address them are. And it was really exciting to finally draft a grant application and get it put up. You can find it at silverinthecity.com on our Silver Linings page. There's links to the application in both English and Spanish. And working with the team at CICF to make sure we were making an application that could cast a broad net and not have really super restrictive requirements for information, to make it just a little bit more accessible and easy for smaller organizations that they can't necessarily employ grant writers, or they might not have access to in-depth data about who they serve and what they do. Because again, we're a small business, I want to help out those people who had an idea for what they could do to make a change in their community. That's who we want to reach. And so we've just been trying to spread the word organically about that. And, we look forward to, I think, focusing on those organizations and being able to share what they've been doing in their communities, and share that with our audience as we move forward, beyond just providing a grant. And then also making sure that our judging process includes multiple perspectives that are different than our own, to help us really understand what programs might have the best value.
Fantastic news, and kudos to you all on seeing that come true. As we wrap up, what are the leadership lessons that you have gathered, throughout the years that really inform the way that you operate now?
Care about people,
Mm.
care about the people in your community, the people who work for you, because they are who is, making it possible to keep your business going and maybe also have a life. Um, I just think that that's so important and is sometimes overlooked in business. Um, and then, understand, I guess, maybe the influence and the impact you have. And so, to again, develop the people on your team to go out there and set the world on fire and follow their dreams, just as we've been able to. Um, and share the wealth, whether that's financial resources or whether that's experiential resources. Do what you can to help lift up other people, and take care of one another.
Very simple yet effective rules to live by. So thank you so much for sharing that, Kristen. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Ebony.
Absolutely. So, how can people find out more information about Silver in the City? I know you dropped the website earlier, but are you guys on social media?
We have a really strong social media presence thanks to our social media director, Shay Rodriguez. And she's been doing just amazing work all along, but really ever since last summer, with sharing resources and information. So you'll find us on Instagram. Silver in the City, I think, is our strongest channel, but you can also find us on Facebook, occasionally on TikTok. We're still learning our way around that, but really,
God bless it. I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to try that one, but that's good that you guys are doing it. That's excellent. Yeah.
it's a really fun channel. It's just figuring it out. And I think, that's one of the great things about working with a great group of people who trend a lot younger than I am, is that,
Mhm.
they're really excited. They can help me understand it, and we can just like play around with it and have a lot of fun. And we really do try to create an environment where like everyone can have like a voice and an idea and share that, and kind of like see their own vision like spring to life.
Mhm. Awesome. Awesome. So thank you again for such a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. And best of luck to you all in all that it is that you're doing in the community.
Thank you, Ebony. I always enjoy connecting with you.
Thank you. And thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in. You can find out more about Leadership Indianapolis at leadershipindianapolis.com.